After the flood, Noah and his family get off the ark. The first thing Noah does is build an altar and offer burnt offerings to God. Then he plants a vineyard, and then we read, Noah drank of the wine and he became drunk. The Torah portion continues, he uncovered himself within his tent. His youngest son, Ham, sees his father's nakedness, and he tells his two older brothers. Ham's two brothers cover their father with a cloth, and they do so with their backs to him, so they don't see Noah's nakedness. Next, we read, Noah wakes up from his wine. He learns what happened, and he curses Ham's descendants to be the lowest of slaves to his brothers. What happened in that tent? Ham's punishment seems not to fit his crime. And so rabbinic theories abound, mostly focused on sexual transgression. One midrash says that Ham castrated his father. Another says that Ham sodomized Noah. In a third midrash, Ham sees his father engaging in marital relations and speaks out, fearing that another son will be born with whom he will have to share his inheritance. All of these midrashim invent a sin for Ham that is commensurate with the awfulness of Noah's curse. And in so doing, the rabbis affirm that Noah was right to curse his son. My classmate Kelly Whitehead has an alternative reading, and I believe that their interpretation is more convincing. Whitehead teaches, perhaps young Ham makes an error in running to tell his brothers about Noah's nakedness and not averting his eyes from his father's shame. Be that as it may, Noah's reaction seems extreme and misdirected. Not only does he fail to own up to his part in the story, he projects his embarrassment onto Ham's innocent descendants to devastating and lasting effect. In Whitehead's telling, Noah gets drunk. He passes out naked. His son sees him and, maybe afraid or concerned, tells his older brothers. And when Noah wakes up, he is hungover, irritable, embarrassed, and he lashes out at his youngest son. And I think that this is the Peshat, the simple, literal meaning of the story. Either Ham did nothing wrong or he made a minor mistake. The curse of Ham isn't deserved, it's not sanctioned by God, it's just the cruel words of a man who's ashamed that his sons saw him exposed in a drunken stupor. And it is striking that the Torah doesn't end the story of Noah with the rainbow and the covenantal blessing, but rather this final sordid scene of drunkenness and cruelty. Our tradition shows us the messiness of the survivor's grief. The end of the flood isn't the end of the pain. When we first met Noah back in Genesis 6, we were told that he is tzaddik and tamim, righteous and innocent. Noah is the only person in his generation to find favor with God. But something in Noah happened during the flood. Something changed. Elie Wiesel writes about the negative transformation Noah undergoes over the course of his story. Noah started out tzaddik and tamim, and now he's drinking too much and lashing out at his family. Yet Wiesel has sympathy for Noah. Poor Noah, he writes. Having survived cosmic tragedy, he is not happy. How could he be? Haunted by his memories, he escapes into sleep. He drinks and sleeps. During the catastrophe, Noah was a protagonist. Now he has become a witness. During the flood, Noah is a silent witness to the death of almost all of humanity. He watches the earth become a watery graveyard. He does what God tells him. He builds the ark, he cares for the animals, but how could he possibly be okay? And after the flood, Noah is a silent witness to the devastated, empty earth. All the towns, houses, schools gone. all the people dead but for his family, all the animals dead but for the few Noah protected. How could Noah possibly look at his God and look at himself in the same way after the flood? The reader isn't told anything about Noah's emotional state. Noah is silent throughout the story. He never argues with God, never challenges God's decree. Noah is silent while he builds the ark, silent when the flood begins, silent when the deaths begin, silent when the waters subside, silent when he sends out the raven and the dove, silent when he disembarks, silent when he builds an altar, silent when God blesses him, silent when God establishes the covenant, silent when he plants a vineyard, silent when he passes out drunk. In fact, the only time Noah ever speaks is to curse his son. The curse is Noah's only direct speech in all of Torah. I think the story of Noah comes to teach us that silent stoicism might get us through the immediate crisis, but cannot work long term. Noah's silence eats away at him. He becomes self-destructive and then outwardly vicious, raging at his son. Humans can endure terrible things, but to endure without becoming destructive, we need emotional release valves. We need to emote, to speak about our pain, to articulate the terrors that haunt us. We are not meant to suffer silently, indefinitely. Not today, but someday I have faith the flood will end, the war will end. But right now, the floodwaters still pour down. Hamas's brutal attack on the Jewish state was a trauma for the Jewish people wherever we dwell. 2 weeks later, we are trying to make sense of our fury. Rage is the correct moral response to such a massacre, and we now seek to channel our anger productively rather than let rage consume us. Some of us are struggling to make sense of our empathy, to meet the humanitarian needs of innocent Gazan civilians while aware of the complexities of ensuring that resources don't fall into the hands of terrorists. Some of us are numb. Some of us are scared for our own safety. All of us are grieving. The Jewish people has been through an atrocity, and the war that Israel now fights against Hamas, necessary as it may be, will be terrible. War always is terrible. The flood is not yet over. And as we live through the flood, I hope that we all speak about what we are experiencing: the lives lost, the friendships strained or broken, the dream of peace waned, and maybe even faith in God or man that has faded. I hope that we share our true emotions, whatever they may be: fear, sorrow, despair, rage, even if our emotions are messy, inchoate, or contradictory. May we let others see our suffering. May we speak to trusted loved ones, or clergy, or God, sooner rather than later. If there are not yet words, sit together in silence. Words will come eventually, or tears, and both are good. Speaking about our pain helps us to bear it. After the flood, may we be vulnerable enough to feel our emotions fully and share them with others. And in so doing, may each of our stories end differently from Noah's. Shabbat Shalom.